Have you ever heard of an island where women can pay to go on a date with you? Where children grow up not knowing they're boys until puberty? Where cars roll uphill against gravity and where woman once ruled by having more than one husband? Welcome to the Dominican Republic, the most misunderstood paradise in the Caribbean. It's not just beaches and cocktails, it's ancient tribes, street codes, an underground romance economy, and shocking secrets no one ever told you. Are you ready to explore? To the east, the Dominican Republic occupies part of the island of Hispaniola, the 22nd largest island in the world, which it shares with Haiti to the west. The Dominican Republic is the second largest country in the Caribbean by land, just after Cuba. It's also the region's top economic powerhouse. Tourism, free trade zones, agriculture, and remittances fuel a GDP of nearly $18 billion US. You're in Haiti, where the GDP barely cracks $3 billion. Haiti's entire economy is about 1/6 the size of its neighbors. The poverty rate hovers near 60%. Electricity is often a luxury, and natural disasters hit here harder than almost anywhere else in the Western Hemisphere. Think about that next time you're sipping a cold Presidente beer under a beach umbrella in Punta Cana. Ask a Dominican about Haitians, and you might get a polite smile followed by a quiet sigh or maybe something more complex. Americans can enter the Dominican Republic without one and stay for 30 days, easily extendable if you're vibing with the slow-paced island life. But Haitians, they face strict border controls, heavy scrutiny, and frequent deportations. Even second-generation Haitians born in the DR often struggle to prove citizenship. This is just the first page of the Dominican Republic's story, and it only gets more surprising from here. This country genuinely sees around 300 days of sunshine a year. That's almost every single day. Blue skies stretch over white sand beaches. The ocean breeze carries the scent of salt, smoke, and something sweet you can't quite place. From June through November, the Caribbean hurricane season rolls in like a slow, silent drumbeat. You may not hear it at first, but when it hits, it doesn't ask permission. In 1979, Hurricane David tore through the country with brutal force. Winds topped 175 miles per hour. Crops were wiped out. Roads vanished. Power lines snapped like matchsticks. Entire communities never fully recovered. Some neighborhoods, especially in the interior or on the outskirts of cities, still bear the scars. Concrete shells where homes once stood. Schools that never reopened. Drainage systems that barely work when it pours. That's the shadow side of all that sun. Even today, hurricanes hit the DR almost every year. Most don't make headlines, but the locals know. The wind changes, the light feels different. People move quicker, quieter. Electricity in the DR is unpredictable, especially outside of tourist zones or major hubs like Santo Domingo and Santiago. We head to a Dominican city where relationships come with surprises nobody warned you about. If you're single, divorced, or just disillusioned by the modern dating scene in the US, the Dominican Republic can feel like a whole new chapter. The sun's out, the drinks are cold, and everywhere you look, Dominican women, with that signature blend of African, Spanish, and indigenous Taino beauty. Sun-kissed skin, curves that dance even when they're still, deep, playful eyes, dresses that hug every line like they were born for it. Some girls are willing to spend their own money to support their foreign boyfriends. For many Dominican women, especially in tourist-heavy zones, relationships with foreigners aren't just romantic, they're practical, strategic, sometimes even a lifeline. So if a connection leads to support, financial or emotional, it's welcomed, sometimes even pursued. That's why a woman might cook for you, clean your apartment, stay loyal, and still slip you $20 for a phone recharge. In many Dominican communities, especially lower-income areas, love and support are intertwined. Relationships often carry financial expectations. That doesn't make them fake, it just makes them conditional. Are you intrigued by Dominican women and their dating culture? If so, comment 4 and I'll reveal how you can meet them. Tucked away in the quiet, rural province of Barahona is a little village called Sas. At first glance, it's just another slow-moving corner of the Dominican Republic. But here, about 1 in 90 children is born appearing female but around puberty. Something changes. Slowly over time, these children begin to develop private parts. Voice deepens. Muscles change. Scientists call it 5-alpha reductase deficiency, a rare genetic mutation that prevents the body from processing a hormone called dihydrotestosterone in the womb. So the male traits that usually show up during fetal development, they're delayed until puberty. Locals even have a word for these children, gavadoses. In the most remote, underdeveloped corners of the Caribbean, the locals, many with little formal education, handle one of the most complex human experiences with grace. Leave this quaint village behind and join us in the Caribbean's oldest city. The discoveries that follow will amaze you. But first, take 5 seconds to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new content. Welcome to Santo Domingo, the capital of the Dominican Republic and the first European settlement in the Americas. Founded in the late 1400s by Bartholomew Columbus, the brother of Columbus, this is where European colonialism first planted its flag in the Western Hemisphere. Walk through the Zona Colonial, the historic district, and it's like time folds in on itself. Calle Las Damas, the oldest paved street in the Americas, still stretches along the stone walls like it did 500 years ago. Once walked by Spanish noblewomen in embroidered dresses, today it's alive with street performers, local artists, tour guides shouting over the traffic, and the click of selfie sticks. You'll find the first cathedral in the Americas, the Alcázar de Colón, home of Diego Columbus, and a mix of colonial ruins and restored buildings that feel like open-air museums. Cafes spill into alleys. Live music hums in the background. Even the shadows here feel historic. Outside Zona Colonial, you'll hit the real city. And depending on where you go, that might mean potholes, poverty, overcrowding, or crime. There are neighborhoods here where tourists are strongly discouraged, especially at night. And if you're thinking about living here, this is important. The Zona Colonial is charming, walkable, and fairly secure. It's where most newcomers start and where many stay. Rent here can range from $500 to $800 for a modern one-bedroom, with air conditioning and good Wi-Fi. You'll find co-working spaces, English-speaking locals, and a few expat bars where everyone's swapping stories and Wi-Fi passwords. Are you thinking about visiting or moving to Santo Domingo? If so, comment 1 and we'll share all the information you need. Taíno people, the original inhabitants of the island. Peaceful, agricultural, and deeply spiritual, the Taíno lived across what is now the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, parts of Cuba, and beyond. They fished by canoe. They farmed with stone tools. They told stories through dance, ceremony, and symbols carved into stone. In Taíno society, polyandry was not just accepted, it was embedded in how life worked. Some chiefs had up to 30 wives, but it wasn't always about dominance. Sometimes it was about survival. In fact, gender roles were fluid. Leadership wasn't only passed down through fathers. In many communities, lineage followed the mother's line. That's matrilineal heritage, a concept far more progressive than most of Europe at the time. Taíno women wore a small apron called a nagua. The longer it was, the higher their social status. Polyandry, where a woman could take multiple husbands, existed alongside polygamy, and it wasn't scandalous. It was just a way to keep families stable, distribute labor, and share resources. Love wasn't confined to one person. It was part of the village. Most modern Dominicans won't mention this part of their ancestry. Colonization changed everything. The Spanish tried to erase Taíno culture through language, religion, and war, and for centuries they succeeded. Tucked deep in the rolling green hills of Barahona, far from the beachfront resorts and all-inclusive brochures, there's a village most people have never heard of. Its name? Polo. And it's not famous for beaches, cathedrals, or nightlife. It's famous for something much weirder. Because here on a narrow country road surrounded by lush trees and the quiet hum of crickets, gravity seems to break its own rules. Your car will slowly roll uphill instead of downhill. Just drive to the right stretch of road, cut your engine, shift into neutral, and wait. Instead of coasting downhill, your car, slowly, eerily, drifts uphill. It's not a magnetic force field or a supernatural glitch. It's a perfectly ordinary optical illusion. The surrounding landscape is tilted in a way that tricks your brain into thinking the road is going uphill when it's actually sloping gently downward. In the Dominican Republic, you don't need a reason to celebrate. Even a big baseball win, especially if it involves the national team, can turn into a full-blown street party with fireworks and overflowing beer. Music pulses through the streets. Bachata and merengue dance out of shop windows. Plastic chairs appear out of nowhere. Grandmothers sway with toddlers. Teenagers flirt. The rum flows like water, and nobody's checking clocks. Because not all parties are about joy. To drown out the noise of high unemployment, rising food prices, and broken public services. In a country where many live on less than $10 a day, a bottle of Bruegel rum, around $4, becomes more than a drink. You'll meet young men who party all weekend but can't find stable work. Single mothers raising families on what little they can make, selling empanadas or cleaning houses. Elders who sip rum under the same mango tree every Sunday because hope has become a ritual. But be mindful. Public drunkenness is common, but pickpocketing isn't unheard of, especially in crowded street scenes. Stay sharp. Keep your phone in your front pocket. Watch your drink. If you've ever stepped off a plane in the Dominican Republic and caught a taxi into the city, you've probably noticed something right away. The honking. It's language. A street-level code understood by locals and completely baffling to first-time visitors. One short beep, the light's green. Wake up. 2 fast taps? I'm passing you, don't freak out. In Santo Domingo or Santiago, driving is like navigating a living. Cars flow like water, scooters weave through invisible lanes, and pedestrians walk with more faith than fear. If you're staying long-term, consider hiring a trusted private driver or using ride apps like Uber or InDrive. They're cheaper than taxis and far less stressful than driving yourself. If you're in the Dominican Republic during February, you're stepping into a living, breathing explosion of sound, color, and soul. Carnival Dominican is a storm of colors, music, and dance. It happens in cities big and small, but the heart of it pulses in Santo Domingo, La Vega, and Santiago, where the streets don't just celebrate, they transform. You'll see feathers, sequins, fire, costumes stitched with mirrors, bones, bells, and rage. Men dressed as devils with long tails. Others come as kings, queens, slaves, conquistadors, even monsters. It's about honoring history the textbooks often skip. Colonization, resistance, spiritual survival. Each costume has meaning, each drumbeat has roots. If you plan to experience it for yourself, here's what you should know. La Vega Carnival is the oldest and wildest. Expect traditional Diablo Ojuelos, mischievous devils, with whips, masks, and crowds that don't back down. Santo Domingo's parade is flashier and more tourist-friendly, especially along the Malecon near the water. The energy is intense. This isn't a quiet street festival. It's a body-shaking celebration that starts in the afternoon and often doesn't stop until sunrise. We leave the drums behind and head to the highest mountain, the longest river, and a saltwater lake full of crocodiles. Pico Duarte is the highest mountain in the Caribbean, towering over 10,000 feet above sea level. It's not for the lazy traveler. There are no cable cars, no Instagram-ready cafes at the summit. You'll earn every step. The hike takes 2 to 4 days round trip depending on your pace. You'll pass through cloud forests, chilly pine groves, and lonely trails where the only sound is your breath and the crunch of your boots. At night, the temperature drops, but when you finally reach the summit and plant your boots beside the Dominican flag waving in the wind, you'll feel something shift. Now, let's follow the water down. The Yaque del Norte is the longest river in the Dominican Republic and the longest in the entire Caribbean. It stretches nearly 200 miles, carving its way through green valleys, rural farmlands, and small towns where life moves slow and steady. Along certain sections, you can kayak, raft, or just float and breathe. And now the lowest point. In the southwest, surrounded by arid desert and quiet stillness, lies Lake Enriquillo, the largest lake in the Caribbean, and by far the saltiest. But crocodiles do. American crocodiles. Big ones. Lurking near the banks, sunbathing on the rocks, and occasionally surfacing with prehistoric grace. This lake sits below sea level and is surrounded by dry, surreal terrain, a place that feels more like Namibia than the Caribbean. You've heard of Punta Cana. White sand is so soft it feels unreal. Resorts that pamper you like royalty. All-inclusive drinks, infinity pools, palm trees planted with geometric perfection. There are beach bars, parasailing tours, and the kind of nightlife that goes from poolside mojito to rooftop DJ without blinking. Roughly translated, Bahia de las Águilas means Bay of Eagles. No high-rises, no bars, no music. Just the purest stretch of coastline in the Caribbean, a place where the sky meets the sea with no intention of impressing anyone. It's tucked in the far southwest corner of the island, inside Jaragua National Park, near the Haitian border. To get there, you'll need a jeep, patience, and probably a guide. The roads are rough, the signs are scarce, there's no electricity, no Wi-Fi, no beachfront smoothie stand. But once you're lying on that untouched shoreline, staring out at water that shifts from turquoise to ink to mirror, you start remembering the version of life that doesn't need notifications to feel meaningful. Merengue blends the accordion, tambora, and guira. The accordion, brought by the Spanish, carries the melody like wind through an old window. The tambora, a double-headed drum of African origin, gives it heartbeat and backbone. And the guira, a metallic scraper from the Taino, the island's indigenous people, adds texture, grit, and rhythm. In the Dominican Republic, dancing isn't reserved for special occasions. Merengue has been used to celebrate weddings and to mock dictators, to honor births and to push back against poverty, pain, and political corruption. One hand on your partner's back, the other gently held theirs. Step together, 2 steps left, 2 steps right. Simple. The hips follow. Then the shoulders. Then the smile. Locals will guide you. Or tease you. Or both. But they'll love that you tried. This lake sits below sea level and is surrounded by dry, surreal terrain, a place that feels more like Namibia than the Caribbean. In the Dominican Republic, dishes are not fancy. It's called la bandera, the flag, a plate of white rice, stewed red beans, and meat, usually chicken or beef, sometimes goat. Add a side of fried sweet plantains or green ones smashed and refried into tostones, and you've got a meal that's warm, balanced, and unmistakably Dominican. Food is cheap if you eat like the locals. You can walk into a Commodore, a no-frills, family-run lunch spot, and get a full plate of la bandera, maybe a drink too, for around $3 to $4 US. Compare that to imported groceries like cereal, almond milk, or cheddar cheese, which can run you $8 to $10 per item if you shop at expat-favored supermarkets. Cooking at home? Shop at neighborhood markets, colmados, or open-air stalls for fresh produce and local cuts of meat. It's cheaper, and you'll practice your Spanish every time you ask for onions or chicken thighs. Want to go out? Look for where the line of motoconcho drivers eat. That's where the good stuff is. Let's talk about it in the comments. In Santo Domingo, a one-bedroom in a decent neighborhood runs $500 to $800 per month. Outside the capital, say in Santiago or Las Terrenas, you can find spots as low as $300. Furnished places cost more. Utilities can add $50 to $150 per month, especially if you love your air conditioning. Eat at Commodore's and you're spending $3 to $5 a meal. Shop at street markets and your weekly food budget might be $25 to $40. But grab almond milk, frozen salmon, and imported cheese. You're suddenly spending like you're back in Miami. Healthcare is accessible and affordable if you go private. Local salaries don't support top-tier care, but you can get decent coverage with private insurance for $30 to $100 per month. A doctor visit without insurance? Around $25 to $50. Pharmacies are everywhere and often sell medications over the counter you'd need a prescription for in the States. In tourist zones, you'll find English speakers. Americans can stay for 30 days visa-free. You can extend that stay for a fee at immigration offices or just overstay and pay a fine when you leave. Not ideal, but common. Want to stay long-term? Apply for a residency visa before you come. This involves paperwork, background checks, and a medical exam, but it's doable. Retirement, investment, and business visas are available, but each has requirements. Don't just wing it. Meet with an immigration lawyer or relocation consultant once you're here. The rules shift often. The average local salary is around $200 to $400 per month. It's also why you as an expat can live well here. We've explored 15 amazing facts about this incredible country. If you enjoyed the video about the Dominican Republic, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is the driving force that helps us continuously improve and bring you even more engaging content. Thank you, and see you in our next travel documentary. We are so glad you are with us today. Please leave a comment, like the video to support us, and subscribe for more videos. See you soon.